40 for Rateable Crest Titans.
The third round of the evocative British Historic Rally Championship would see the crews back in the Kielder Forest complex, albeit a different area, and one that provided a whole different challenge for the crews as a result. Winner at round 2, Matthew Robinson, was back out and he meant business. Of course, he'd be expected to go well once again here, but there were plenty of big names on this leaderboard ready to chase him down for victory on these historic stages. Let's get those fabulous engines fired up then and head out onto the stages. It would be the early lead for round 2 winners Matthew Robinson and Sam Collis. They open up a very small, but at this stage, critical advantage of 4 seconds by the midpoint of the rally. The pair with the job of chasing Robinson and Collis down at this early stage in the event were Simon Webster and Jez Rogers. Having a strong run this weekend and swapping times with Robinson, it would be all to play for in the afternoon. Having only returned back to the gravel this season, it would be a good start for Rob Smith and Alan Cook. They round out our podium positions at this stage in the rally. It would be frustration through the opening stage though for Rudy Lancaster and Guy Weaver. A puncture meaning that they were a little further back on the leaderboard than they had targeted at this stage. They end the morning 4th overall. It's a highly anticipated return to the championship for Will Onions and Dave Williams this weekend. 11 seconds back from Lancaster for now, but getting back on that pace that we're so used to seeing from Onions stage by stage. For James Slaughter and Jamie Edwards, meanwhile, it will be 6th. They end the morning 2nd in the G2 class as well in that escort. Things were not going well this weekend for some of our leading crews, Joe Price and Chris Brooks. Sadly, not even making it out of the morning stages. They retire with mechanical issues on the car. It will be a short-lived event too for Ben Friend and Cliffy Simmons. They retire when the stub axle breaks on the escort in the 3rd stage of the day. You could say that things didn't go well for Barry Stevenson, Wheeler and John Pickervance here last season. Needless to say, they didn't want another finish like that. They make a good start to the rally with 7th place overall. And just behind them in the category were Paul Street and Ian Jones. 10 seconds behind, to be exact. The fight was on, lying in 8th place overall at this stage in the event, and with that pair up ahead in their sights. A further 10 seconds back for Lee Ashbury and Terry Mallin too. They finished the morning just inside our top 10 leaderboard with 9th. And rounding out the top 10 were John Lowe and Jamie Forrest. 10th place overall in the category, as well as 8th in the class. There's a bit of attrition here in Kielder, as you might expect. We do lose a few crews through the morning stages. Adrian Hetherington and Ronan O'Neill sadly retiring on stage 3 of the event. We'd also lose Josh Brown and Jane Edgington when a hard landing on the jump breaks the rear axle. They'd retire before the afternoon stages got underway. Back to that leaderboard though, and it would be the D3 class lead for David Lloyd Roberts and Di Jones. The pair end the morning with 11th place overall too. Second in that class would be this man, Mike Reed, John Millington alongside. There'd only be 4 seconds in it, so the class was all to play for through the afternoon. The gap back to 3rd in that class was a little bigger though. Paul Holmes and Elizabeth Beasley taking that position in the escort, just over a minute back from those fighting for that class lead. For Tim Metcalf and Karen Tomlinson, it will be 3rd in the G2 class. A little way back from the others up ahead, but still going strong and still with a good strong class result in their sights. Tom Cowetry and Ian Fraser will be the only competitors in the F2 class this weekend. That Mitsubishi Galant looking and sounding great. So the day was going well so far for the pair, but they'd have their eyes set on the overall times, of course. They end the morning with 19th position. Just behind Coultry on the results were Malcolm and Ron Mounsey, the only pair in the D2 class. So that position was theirs in the class, but overall, they'd have a fight on their hands. We're midway through the Carlisle stages then, and the results in the Category 3 fight this weekend are looking like this so far. Let's head back out onto those Kielder stages into the afternoon. It would be bad luck for Tom Coultry and Ian Fraser. They crashed the car close to the end of the rally after passing our cameras, in fact, causing some damage. They do limp out of the stages, taking 11th overall after an attrition-filled afternoon. Inside the top 10, it would be David Kynaston and Val Thompson ending the day with that 10th place. The Triumph adding a bit of variety to the leaderboard here in Kielder. For Tim Metcalf and Karen Tomlinson, it would be 9th. The pair ending the rally with 2nd in G2 as well this weekend. And 8th overall at the end of the rally would belong to Phil and Mick Squires. A good, strong end to the rally for the pair and their best point score of the season so far. It will be a great end to the event for Mike Tomkinson and Sean Whitehurst. They take 7th on the leaderboard as well as 5th place in the D5 class. There's no change in the lead of D3 though through the afternoon stages. David Lloyd Roberts and Di Jones continuing to hold on to that position, ending the rally with that class victory from 6th overall. Paul Street and Ian Jones add more points to that season tally with a 5th place finish this weekend. This putting them 9th in the championship standings after 3 rounds. There wouldn't, though, be anything else that Rudy Lancaster and Guy Weaver could do to take a podium this weekend. They settle with 4th overall, a position that they'd held in the championship standings as well after this round. And it would be a season best result so far for Rob Smith and Alan Cook, going well for a limited time back on the gravel to take 3rd place on the loose this weekend. We had a big fight on our hands at the head of the field though, things not going to plan for Simon Webster and Jez Rogers. The pair on track to potentially take their first victory, but they get held up by a car that had previously gone off on the road in front of them. They miss out on victory as a result by 8 seconds. 2nd place for the pair here at the 3rd round of the series. That, of course, means that it's victory for Matthew Robinson and Sam Collis. 2 in a row now for this unstoppable pair. Enough to put them in the lead of the championship overall by just 3 points after this weekend. So confirmation then of the results in Category 3 here at the end of a dramatic and fairly mixed up by the end of the day Carlisle stages for 2019. The Rally Nuts stages will be the 3rd round of the Pirelli Welsh Rally Championship, and already we've started to see some of those familiar battles unfolding throughout the classes, the action hot from the very first round of the year. And over the morning stages, the action would certainly be hot for our rally leaders, Matthew Hurst and Declan Deer, taking that early lead. Winners last time out on Rally North Wales, the pair were looking to make it 2 in a row this weekend. After missing the last round, Scott Faulkner and Gareth Parry were back and with a vengeance. They were fighting. They end the morning with 2nd place, just 3 seconds back from Hurst. Graham Middleton and Steve McPhee joined the championship this weekend, bringing out the Mitsubishi Mirage. Things were going well. 3rd place for the pair at this stage and not showing any signs of that long break from competition for someone who is, quite frankly, a legend of the sport. Outside the podium positions, it will be 4th overall for Richard Hill and Stefan Evans. A good start for the Subaru pair, who were lying 2nd in the W13 class as well. And it would be a familiar giant-killing morning for Callum Black and Michael Gilby. They lead the W3 class and, of course, were the first front-wheel drive crew on our leaderboard, mixing things with far more powerful and advanced machinery. Just behind Black and Gilby overall were Tom Llewellyn and Ross Whittock, the Escort pair leading the way in the W6 class as well from 6th overall. And there'd be some more giant killing to come in the top 10, this time from 7th place. Chris Powell and Jim Lewis guiding that Sunbeam to that position overall at this stage, 7 seconds back from class rival Black after the morning stages. For Andrew Davison and Tom Murphy, it would be 2nd in W6 at this stage, just inside our top 10 with 8th. And 19 seconds back overall on the leaderboard were Werg Utting and Bob Stocko, 2nd in the N4 class for the ever-smiling Subaru pair. Rounding out our top 10 at this stage were Tony Simpson and Ian Bevan, leading the way in the W4 class by the smallest of margins. That lead over this man, Perry Gardner, Keaton Williams alongside once again, 2nd in the class, sitting just outside the top 10 overall with 11th, and just 2 seconds the difference after 4 stages. There would be no doubting the N3 class dominance. It was the lead again for Zach Hughes and Tom Wood, a convincing margin at the head of the class now, really showing that he had what it took to take this championship, 12th place overall. Dave and Toby Brick, meanwhile, would be a little way back on the results than they would have liked. They end the morning 13th overall, out of position and somewhat out of character, 3rd in W3. The W12 class lead this morning, though, would belong to this man, Colin Griffiths. Herod Davies alongside in that BMW calling the notes. The advantage in the class was a small one. They wouldn't be able to back off at all. And it would be Andrew and Jamie Lee Fox chasing them down for that class lead. 1 second, the difference between the two cars. It was all to play for in the remaining stages of the day. For Steve Ward and Mike Crawford, meanwhile, it would be 3rd in W6. The crews a little spread out in the class, but that wasn't stopping them all from pushing. In the W5 class, it would be a good lead for Howell Davies and Simon Jones. They take the lead advantage there, as well as 18th place overall. For Josh Taylor and Heather Merrison, it will be 3rd in W13, a little way back from the fight in the class up ahead, but still going well. It wouldn't be such a good morning, though, for Owen McMacken and Lee Taylor. A spin on the opening stage of the day would lose the pair some valuable time when they get stuck on a bank. They do continue, but end the morning 21st overall. In the N3 class, it would be 2nd place for Rydian Price and Stephen Brown. Not looking at all likely to catch Hughes at the head of the class, of course, but they would be there to pick up any positions at the end that they could. For Martin Walters and Marie Fletcher, it would be 3rd in W4, the Honda Civic pairing in 28th on our leaderboard. And for Ron Morgan and Tudor Jenkins, it would be 2nd in W5. Not able to catch our class leaders, but they did have to watch out from behind. It would be 3rd in the N3 class for Steve Allman-Smith and Sam Coleman. They reached the end of the morning with 30th place on the leaderboard overall as well. But it was Ken Davies and Alan Jones rounding out the top of the W5 podium and chasing Morgan and Jenkins down. 3rd in the class, 32nd overall in that Volvo Amazon. And rounding out the top of our class finishers were Ron Hall and Phil Spilstead. 3rd in the N4 class. They weren't fighting for the class victory, but they were still going strong. So before we head on to those afternoon stages, here's a quick recap of the leaderboard on the Rally Nuts stages so far here in the Welsh Rally Championship. On we go to the second half of the day then. There wouldn't be any change in the W5 class. Ken Davies and Alan Jones continue to hold on to third in the class but couldn't quite make it second by the end of the rally. They finish in 31st. More change though, this time in the W4 class, which would see Steve Dealey and Alan Proudman moving up the order to take second in that class. It would be through default, but they'd be happy nonetheless with that result. There'd be change as well for Martin Walters and Marie Fletcher. A class victory in W4 by the end of the rally for the pair would be a welcome finish after lying third this morning. No change though for Ron Morgan and Tudor Jenkins. They were not going to catch the W5 class leaders, so second place would have to do for them this weekend. And it will be a similar story as well for Iridian Price and Stephen Brown. They hold on to that second place in the N3 class to end the rally. There's some last-minute frustration and some time lost as well for Colin Griffiths and Perida Davies. They slipped down the order through the afternoon to end the rally with third in the class. Of course, they'd been leading earlier in the day, so a real frustrating end to that rally for them. No such bad luck though for Howell Davies and Simon Jones. They continue to lead the W5 class, hanging on to the end of the rally to take that class victory. In the W13 class, meanwhile, it will be Josh Taylor and Heather Merrison taking third at the end of the day. A strong result for the pair. It was a bit of a recovery drive up the leaderboard for Owen McMacken and Lee Taylor after their morning spin. They reached the finish with second place in W12, 16th overall. Damage limitation. A bit more change this time in the W3 class. Steve Black and Paul Morris overhauling Dave Brick to end the day with third in the class in the Suzuki. A bad day for the Bricks. As we have come to expect now, it was a convincing victory though for Zach Hughes and Tom Wood in the N3 class. All they had to do was keep things neat and tidy in the afternoon and keep a reasonable pace to take that victory. But sometimes it just isn't that easy. They did make it look so this time though, and they do just that. It was a great class result meanwhile for Andrew and Jamie Lee Fox. The W12 victory would be theirs this weekend in that BMW. And in the W6 class, it would be third place at the end of the rally for Steve Ward and Mike Crawford. The times spread out a little in the class. It was an almost guaranteed position for finishing for the pair. In the W4 class, Tony Simpson and Ian Bevan miss out on victory by just 10 seconds at the end of the rally, dropping back to take second place, just outside the top 10 overall with 11th. On to that top 10 then, and it was a fighting drive for our W4 class victors. It would be the win for Perry Gardner and Keaton Williams. A great weekend for the pair to take that class victory and a strong result for the championship as well. For Wug Utting and Bob Stocko, it would be second in N4. A strong result for the pair in the Subaru, taking 9th on the leaderboard as well. There'd be no change though, and no problems to report either for Andrew Davison and Tom Murphy in the second half of the rally. They remain in 8th place overall, as well as second in the W6 class. And beating Davison to that class victory would be Tom Llewellyn and Ross Whittock, first in the class at the finish, as well as 7th place overall in the Escort. The giant killing we talked about earlier would continue in the W3 class though into the afternoon stages of the day. Chris Powell and Jim Lewis are up first. They continue to hold on to that position to end the rally, as well as taking 6th overall. Just ahead of them though in the class and overall results were Callum Black and Michael Gilby. They take the class victory and they also take 5th place on an overall leaderboard filled with more powerful machinery, and they've been mixing it with that machinery all day long. Richard Hill and Stefan Evans just miss out on a podium position this weekend, settling for 4th place. That result good enough to take 2nd in the class though. And a solid first time back out would see Graham Middleton and Steve McPhee taking a podium position to end the rally. Third place was theirs. They take the class victory in that Mirage. There's frustration though for Matthew Hurst and Declan Deer. They'd be unable to hold on to that lead, missing out on victory by the smallest of margins, having led early on. Just a single second in it by the finish. Second place though was good and some great championship points towards their campaign. But taking that victory in the final miles and living up to the excitement and drama that we come to expect now of the Pirelli Welsh Rally Championship would be Scott Faulkner and Gareth Parry. They take victory by that slim 1 second margin, getting themselves maximum points from this round of the championship. So confirmation then of the results on the Rally Nuts stages. It turned out to be pretty dramatic at the end of the day, another close end to the championship battles here at round 3.
Well, you've been on a charge today, as told by the result.
Yeah, it was brilliant. We had a puncture in stage 5, just about 2.5 miles from the end, and we thought it was all over, to be honest. Tyre came off the rim, we trundled through, we lost about 7-8 seconds, I think, to the top boys. And then we found out that we'd only lost 5, I think, and then going into the last stage, we just turned it all on, just pulled out all the stops and pushed, and it was brilliant, really good stage, and won us the rally afterwards, so it was great.
Well, you mentioned losing time to the top boys. As far as the Welsh Rally Championship is concerned, you are the top boy today.
No, it's brilliant. I can't thank the guys enough at C1R. They've transformed this car over the last 12 months for us. We were able to push and really push, and it showed. And I spoke to Pat after for the Group N in the BTRDA, and he said that he was flat out. So to know that we're flat out, and Matt and the guys here in the Welsh as well, it's brilliant. To do it on speed and commitment is better than to do it on just losing.
Without speed.
Yeah, exactly.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That goes down as a pretty good day in the office.
Yeah, you'd say so. Obviously, I'm a bit gutted that Scott got us by a second, but that's rallying, isn't it? Glad that we finally got some good competition and that it's a good championship to be in, I'd say.
No one wants to be out. Oh, I suppose it's easy to be out on your own with a massive lead, but actually to come away with a big fight and know that you really had to work for it, it adds something to what we all do it for, doesn't it?
It's got to, yeah. I mean, we all watch Matt Edwards win everything by whatever he did last year, and it just takes fun out of it. And I'm not criticising him.
I think he loved it.
Yeah, I'm sure he did, and I'm sure I'd like to do it too. But no, it's good to have a good battle with Scott, and I'd like to say well done to him.
Well, the Welsh Rally Championship has a new old face back challenging at the top. What a podium. That bodes well for a cracking title fight this season. I'm sure you'll agree. We can't wait for next time. We will see you there. Thank you for watching.
Care 40 for rateable crest Titans.